Hello, I'm Eddie.
And I'm Debbie.
And this is Benning Farm, where you're never too old to start or start learning. Okay, today we're going to talk about herbs, and we'll let the herb lady talk about it.
Hi, I'm just going to show you my garden here. I've got 4 kinds of basil planted in this one, and I've got it planted in amongst the tomato plants. Actually, as an afterthought, I added the tomato plants just to try something. I had always heard that basil planted with tomatoes would help improve the flavor and help repair the pest. As you can see, we've got the bees visiting them. The bees love my basil. And so we've got them working the basil, and so that attracts them to help pollinate some of the other plants. The basil planted in amongst the tomatoes, oh, they were some really good tomatoes this year. As you can see, it's towards the end of the season. They're looking kind of spent. Right here I have dark opal basil. It's really pretty. It's my favorite basil. I think it has the best flavor of all of them that I've grown so far. And then I have cinnamon basil. Cinnamon basil is really good, it smells really good, and my granddaughter loves to make cinnamon basil chocolate chip cookies.
And they are good.
Then we have Thai sweet basil. Thai sweet basil has somewhat of a licorice taste. And if you'll notice, there's not as many bees on the Thai sweet. It attracts more bumblebees and butterflies, and they tend to like it better. It's really good in Oriental food. It's anything you want to add kind of a licorice basil taste to, it's really good in it. And then we have Tulsi or Thai holy basil, and I use it a lot in my teas. It's got some really good properties for your nerve. It's a nervine, and it helps relax you, helps, you know, when you're stressed, you can make teas out of it, and it's just really good for that, and it's a really popular herb in my teas that I make. Okay, we have right here, this is milkweed, and I like to plant it in around my house and different places because it's good for the monarch butterflies, and my bees also like the flowers on them when they're blooming. But the pollinators, we try to feed as much as we can. They need all the help they can get right now, especially with all of the chemicals and all that's in the world. We have the Daikon Radishes planted in amongst here, and that's to draw up the nutrients. I didn't plant the winter peas up here because herbs don't need as much nitrogen as the garden plants do. This right here we have some lavender. And as you can see, it's towards the end of the year and it's still kind of weedy. I need to do a little cleanup on my beds and all before winter. And then we have oregano. Oregano, during the winter, sprawls close to the ground. As you can see, some of them were tall. I've let them go to seed and to help replant for next year. The oregano, you harvest it and dry it when it's blooming. So you can still get it the rest of the time of the year, but the flavor is the absolute best when it's blooming. And so we've got it spread through here. I'm just going to let this whole thing fill in. I did plant some daikons in amongst up around here too. And then we have thyme. Now thyme does need a little bit more nutrients than what the oregano does. And so I'll come back and plant some peas kind of around it in the corner here and get it to going. And I also planted a little mini chocolate bell pepper just because I thought it was cute. We have some more thyme right here, and we've got dewberry growing through the middle, so he'll have to leave. I like dewberries, but when they're in with my herbs, they tend to get tangled up, so I don't want that. And then we have some Mexican sunflowers that got blown over that I'll have to come clean up. I have some more oregano, and then I have my rosemary bush. My rosemary bush is probably about 3 years old. They're prolific growers, and I have picked from it quite a bit this year. I do quite a bit with rosemary. I use it in my teas that I make. And then I also do a really good rosemary focaccia bread that is just, it's delicious. And so we really like that, and that's one of Eddie's favorites too. And then we have the garlic chives. And as you can see, we've let them bloom and go to seed to replant and spread. And then I've got some more Mexican sunflowers that fell over. Now down here we had some calendula. It's already pretty much gone. And then as you can see, there's Johnson grass that we've got to get out of here that we're still working to clean up. And quite a bit of the Daikon radishes. And then down here I had echinacea growing, and it's pretty much already died back for the year.
Now what is this?
That's red amaranth pigweed. Yeah. You can eat the seeds from them, but you don't want them in your herb bed. So we've got a lot of work to do, as you can see. Then this is lemon thyme, or it's called winter thyme, and it has a little bit different flavor than the common thyme, and has a little bit of a lemony, citrusy smell, and it tastes just really good. And we've got more Daikon radishes. This is the bed where I had my dill planted earlier in the spring, and I'll come back and plant that. And as you can see, we've got a fire ant mound that just decided to take up residence that we'll have to do something with. And then I've got some Brussels sprouts started in here, and they're starting to come up and get bigger. And I've got some empty holes that I'll have to plant in with it that I've got started in the greenhouse. And if you look here, I've got some dill that started back from a volunteer. Okay, as you can see right here, we have a big stand of lemongrass. Lemongrass we like to plant by our back door because it's reported to help repel mosquitoes, and we don't have a whole lot of problems with mosquitoes, even though we have a 1-acre pond just right there behind our house. I just noticed the lemongrass here has purple on it, and when you see that on your plants like that, that means that it's lacking nitrogen. So what I'll do is I'll come back here and plant some winter peas, or maybe some English peas, and get those in there to help fix the nitrogen. We'll probably put some rabbit manure on it or some compost and just doctor it up really good and get some nitrogen going in there. We have right here, this is my basil bed, and I planted it summer before last, or spring before last, and every bit of this basil came back from seed, and it was really full and pretty earlier in the year. I wish we'd have thought and filmed it then. It's kind of spin, it's toward the end of the season, but as you can see, it come up pretty thick, and it was all a volunteer bed. So I like to let my stuff go to seed like that on the annuals because they help replant themselves. Okay, this bed here I've been trying to get established. It's St. John's wort, and it started to spread. I was a little late in the year getting it planted in, but it is a perennial. And as you can see, I planted the Daikon radishes in amongst it to help bring up the nutrients for it. St. John's wort's not really a heavy feeder, but I want the soil looser because I want it to spread and eventually to fill all this in. Oh. This is Thai Roselle. It is a hibiscus family. This is where they get the hibiscus tea from. And what you do is you let the flowers bloom, and then after they bloom, you come in and you pick these parts right here. They have a tart cranberry taste. They are really good in teas and different things. So far I've just used them in the teas, but they're reported to have some really good medicinal benefits for your heart. And these were really big. They were just as tall as what the wellshed was, but when we had the hurricane come through probably about 2 or 3 months ago, it blew them over. So I know next year when I plant them, I'm going to stake them to where they'll stand upright. We have chocolate mint. The heat kind of got a little hard on it this year, but it's coming back and it'll spread and it'll eventually take this whole bed over. And I had more Thai Roselle planted here too, and it blew over. And as you can see, this cooler weather and the wet, the fire ants like it. So I've got to get my stuff out to treat the fire ants for it. So that's it for the herb tour at the moment because it's in late fall. We're on October 28th. everything has pretty much died back right now, and so it won't be growing again really pretty till next spring. We'll do another tour then. Thanks. Did we talk about it?